it can be easy to, listen to this and be like, okay, yeah, like creating a vision, got it. But, and the but is usually where a lot of our limiting beliefs flood in. And in helping thousands of people, I see this all day, every day, and recognizing that there's certain beliefs that are, it's not making them wrong or bad, just recognizing, oh, these are like kinks in my hose. So if you have thoughts of, well, I don't know what my vision is, I don't know where to start. Uh, who am I to dream bigger? What if I don't dream big enough? What is so and so going to think about me? What is my mother going to think about me, or my father going to think about me if I go after my dreams? Or I have so many dreams. Where do I start? Or I don't really want to claim what it is that I want because of the responsibility connected to having to bring it to life. Or I don't really want to claim a bigger life because I'm already so exhausted with the one that I have. And if it's just more of the same, I don't really want it. All of those are normal, natural thoughts. And just don't let them stand in the way of you creating your vision.
Welcome to Real Stories, a podcast where we explore love, impact, faith, and purpose with experts in their respective fields. My name is Jamie Lee Bongard, and today's guest is the visionary founder of Vision Driven. Her team has helped over 3,000 entrepreneurs and CEOs around the world clarify and communicate their next big vision for their business and life using her signature Vivid Vision process. She's worked with world-class leaders like Tony Robbins, Dan Sullivan with Strategic Coach and Bulletproof Coffee, and spoken at top events like TEDx, Genius Network, and Maverick 1000, Necker Island, hosted by Sir Richard Branson. Today's guest on the Real Stories podcast is Jennifer Hudye-Moscow. Her work helps align teams, attract top talent, and keep leaders anchored to a compelling future, even through challenges. Jennifer's passion for unlocking vision isn't just strategic, it's spiritual. And I am so honored to have her here with me today.
Well, I'm so delighted to be part of the beginning creation.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming and spending time with me today. I feel so honored to get this special time with you. And you're someone who I know has helped so many high impact entrepreneurs, like those that do good and are good in the world. And I love that so much about you. And you are special and an expert in your field of helping people create a crystal clear vision for their business and their life. And you do it in a way that brings soul, strategy, and service all together. And I think it's just amazing what you do. So I'd love for you to lead us in one of the things that you do, which is your breath work to ground us. And then at the end of that, I will say a prayer so that we're guided in this journey together.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
So grateful to be with you, Jamie Lee. All right. So wherever in the world that you're coming in at, if you're not driving or operating heavy machinery, go ahead and close your eyes. Put your feet on the ground. Roll your shoulders back and just take the deepest breath of your day in through the nose, out through the mouth. Again, deep breath in through the nose, all the way, filling up your belly, filling up your chest with that life force, holding at the top. And then let it go, emptying your lungs all the way, relaxing your shoulders, feeling your feet on the ground, holding at the bottom. And I'm just going to guide us through a short round, 30 breaths. Seems like a lot. It's going to go by quick. And you're just going to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. I'll cue you each step of the way, but just notice first where your state of mind is at before we begin, your state of heart. If any part of your body is holding any tension, just see with every breath if you could relax it. So here we go. Take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Again, let it go. Again, let it go. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Again, exhale. Again, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Keep going just like that. Exhale, inhale. You're halfway. Exhale, inhale, exhale. See if you can find that rhythm and let it go. Like a wave in the ocean, let it flow all the way. Relax your shoulders. Inhale, exhale. Open up your heart. Let it go. 8 more. 8. Let it go. 7, 6. Exhale. 5, 4. Let it go. 3. Almost there. 2. Now take a deep breath all the way in. Fill up your lungs. Relax your temples, your shoulders, your hips, your knees, your feet. And just see if you can find the center of your heart. This sacred heart of yours. You can't even make your own heartbeat one time. There is an infinite intelligence, God, that is beating your heart, breathing your lungs. The Spirit of God is all around us. And just inviting that in. And then exhaling all the way, emptying your lungs. And then just noticing the shift here of what's different. And whenever you're ready, Jamie Lee, you can guide us in a prayer.
Dear God, thank you for bringing Jennifer and I today together, and not just today, but before, that you just had us meet and discuss things that are just so important to you. And I invite you to be with us and guide us through, and I invite you into the mind's eye and hearts of all the listeners who are going to be joining us today, and that you'd open their ears to hear and hearts to just feel your love and light surround them in all that we discuss. And if there's something really magical that needs to come out of either Jennifer or I's mouth, I invite you to do that and share it with all of our listeners. Thank you for blessing us. Thank you for giving us this beautiful life to live of abundance. And I pray that you are with us in this conversation and that you guide us through it. Thank you for enabling us to talk today and for sharing all the messages that are going to come out today between Jennifer and I. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So I would love to open this up. I personally cannot wait to come and join you so soon. On Mother's Day, gifted me and my mom a day with Jennifer, and it's a day that we're going to get to really look at our personal and our professional goals with you. So I can't wait to come to Austin and do that. I feel like it's going to be absolutely magical.
Yeah.
Your gift of unlocking vision, what I've come to learn about you so far, isn't just practical. It's truly spiritual, and it's this gift from God. He's given us each a purpose. We are all created custom by Him for His purpose. And I know that you help people align their lives in line with their true calling and their purpose. And some of them might not even know that yet. I know I sent you a quote recently, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about the spiritual side of this. I also would love to dive into the business aspect so people really do understand what it is that you do and the magic that you create in people's lives. I think it's truly special. And I remember pulling this quote up shortly after I had solidified this with you. And I think a huge aspect of importance in each of our lives is to create a vision, right? Create what it is that we hope to achieve in our life. And I sent you this picture, and it's about a scripture, and it says, "Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end, it will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come, it will not delay." So, opening with that, I'd love to ask you just right out of the gates, what is a vivid vision? What does that mean to you, and what does it mean for the people that come and speak with you?
Yeah, so a vivid vision is a tool that serves as a North Star for any individual. I primarily work, with leaders, with entrepreneurs, but any person uh, as a North Star for you to remember who it is that you're here to be, what it is that you're here to do, and it is it shows up in a form of a blueprint, usually 5 to 6 pages, that paints a vivid picture of exactly what you would love your future to look like 3 years out, as if it's already happened. I say it's the story of your future. I have mine right behind me, one of mine, my personal vivid vision right behind me in my office. And I look at it every single day, and it provides as the North Star of how I show up, how I lead, a reminder of what it is that I'm building and creating, all so that I can become the person that I'm here to be.
I love that. Thank you. That's amazing. And I love how visual you are as well in your endeavor. I think that's a really special part of it, because we are to really cast that vision for each of who we are and what we are becoming. And I love all the templates you've sent to help with that process. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what inspired you to create this company. What was it that called you to do this?
Yeah, as far as building vision driven, I really feel like the the message and the purpose found me. Um, when if I look all the way back to when I was a young girl, I was always like incredibly focused, knew relatively like what I wanted to do, got after it. And in 2015, I was building one of my first businesses. I was living in Phoenix, Arizona. I'd moved from Saskatchewan, Canada, and I'd recently graduated college. I was bootstrapping this little business called Conscious Copy and Co. And it was a little messaging. Well, it helped with marketing, and I was virtually unknown in the industry that I was in. Was just starting, bootstrapping the business, didn't have a team, didn't really have a clue what I was doing. And I, uh, just by chance, I happened to be at this business dinner with a group of entrepreneurs. And one of the entrepreneurs that was there was this well-known, also Canadian entrepreneur named Cameron Harold. And he had built $200 million businesses. And he was asking me about my business, and I was telling him a little bit about it. And it almost like felt like just this divine moment where he's like, "You need to read my book." And I was like, "What's your book?" And he's like, "Vivid Vision." And so I read his book that ultimately talked about creating a vivid vision for your business. And I remember so much of it was just clicking into place. I realized that intuitively I had been doing some of the principles that were taught in that book my whole life. This idea of really gaining clarity on what it is that you want your future to look like, and then painting the picture, writing it as if it's already happened. And the story he tells in the book is how him and the CEO of 1-800 Got Junk, Brian Scudamore, actually built 1-800 Got Junk, and they were plateaued at about $1 million a year for 8 years in a row. And Cameron was the COO, and the two of them got together and they wrote what was first really known as, well, they called it a painted picture, now called a vivid vision. And that over the course of 4 years, they built 1-800 Got Junk into a $100 million business.
Wow.
Featured in Oprah, in the Harvard Business Review, like so many of the things that they wrote down happened. And so in reading that book, there was all of these light bulbs that went off for me. And I was like, I got to do this. And so I created my first vivid vision for conscious copy and put it up on my wall, just like the one behind me. And I looked at it every single day. I started making my decisions by it. I started using it as a recruiting tool because I didn't have, large amounts of money to be able to recruit top talent, but I had this really compelling vision. And in less than 18 months, so much of that vision was had fully come true, including building a multi-million-dollar business, building an awesome team of about 12 people, and then working with some of the top, like some of my dream clients at the time, like Tony Robbins and Brendan Bouchard and Joe Polish, Dan Sullivan, like a lot of the personal development leaders that really made an impact on me. I wanted to serve them. I wanted to help them with my business, and they all became clients. And so I became a big believer in the vivid vision. And then Cameron had actually reached out. He had become a client and reached out to me and said, hey, I want you to really run with this. I think you're the person to share this in the world. And so in 2016, built, at first it was a division of our company and then became a company in itself in 2022, where we've helped over 700 CEOs and entrepreneurs one-on-one through our process, and then almost 4,000 other leaders through our workshops, retreats, events that we lead with groups like EO, YPO. And for me, I've done many iterations of my own personal vision and my business visions, and it's become my North Star to ultimately build the life that I want to build. And I feel so honored and grateful to be able to help other people do the same, because I mean, I know I'm biased, but I really believe it's the most important work that we can do is connecting to what is that future that God wants for us, and be able to clarify it, be able to define it, and then live by it.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. I mean, it's pretty incredible, your story. It's heartwarming. It shows the grit you have. It shows the passion you have for helping people and the impact you want to make, and the truth in the fact that we do all have a purpose and we're gifted with that ability to feel it. And I love how you're helping people execute. It's just incredible. And as soon as I heard you speak, I think it was on Gio's call, and you presented what you did. And I was like, Gio, I need her number. I have to call her. This is like perfect, because I was going through a time in my life of just some questions of what is next and what does that look like. And I know visions work. When I came to Canada from meeting my husband afar, and he's Swiss, and then living in Switzerland and having our first child, the first thing we did in our decision-making process, through something my mom actually recommended to me, was line up what our values are and what we see in the next 1, 3, 5, 10, 20 years. And I always start like 20 years out and then I go backwards. And literally we decided to move to Canada. We decided to take the risk and have him pack up and learn his 6th language fluently and get his real estate license. We took the risk and did it. And we folded that plan up and put it in our wedding box. And when we bought our first house, I think like 4 years after we moved, we opened it, and no word of a lie, to the year our children were born, to the amount of income my husband wrote down he would make happened. It was like an 80% of what we wrote down and had in our minds came to fruition. And so I joke with him now, I'm like, careful what you write down next time.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. And I know we've talked about faith and we've talked about God and we've really connected on that. And I've shared a little bit of some of the experiences I've had and my testimony. And I'd love to hear a bit more about yours and go on that journey of, what is it that anchors you and why?
Yeah. Oh, I, and I just want to reflect too on what you just shared about you and your husband and how, it just goes to show how powerful we are. And I think so often we forget that. And in my own journey, especially when it comes to, spirituality and the crossover with vision, is I really believe that creating a vision for our lives is like one of the most deeply spiritual things that we can do. And one of the greatest gifts that God has given us is agency, to have agency over our lives. We have free will. And when we come into these bodies, we also, come in for the first, especially 7 years of our life, we are just a sponge absorbing the world around us, and our how we see the world, how we experience the world is shaped by our ancestral lines, our families, our culture, how we're raised. And, just look to a kid and see that most kids, they live in their imagination, and it's so easy for them to say, I want to be this when I grow up, I want to do this. I remember, I was 6 years old and it was career day, and I'm like, how can I choose? And so in the morning I went as a dolphin trainer, and then I went and changed and I became a pop star, and then I changed and I was like, I want to be a doctor, and all of these things. And then there's, our society, I think, means well, but over time it tells us, hey, you can't do that. Don't dream too big. Who do you think you are? And we start to get this natural mental faculty that God gave us of imagination. It starts to become dimmed and dampened. And then we believe that when it comes to our purpose or what we want, we got to look outside of ourselves. And I see so many people, they look for their vision almost like they're looking for lost keys. Like, I got to find out what my purpose is outside of myself. But I believe God designed us in the most perfect way, where he stacked all the odds in our favor.
Mm-hmm.
And we just overcomplicated as humans. Because if you look at nature, for example, if you look at an acorn, that little seed of an acorn has exactly all of the DNA in it in order to become a big oak tree. It already has all of that within it. Now, does it mean that it's going to be an oak tree, every single acorn? Not necessarily. It needs to be planted, it needs to be watered, it needs, the right atmospheric conditions, but it has that potential. And so I believe as human beings, we have the same, that we came here and God had already planted that divine map of exactly who we're here to be, what we're here to do. And we got to stop looking outside of ourselves for it. Now, the world can help us shape it, but it's really going inward and asking some key questions, and um, giving enough space for that vision to bubble up, and then removing some of those blocks and those limiting beliefs that stand in the way of it.
Mm-hmm. That's so powerful. I love the acorn analogy. We are all, like you said, we're all given this map, and we have to become, through having that vision, what it is we were put here for. And I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, what are your personal values? Like, how have you seen this show up as you do this vivid vision planning with people who come to see you? I know you mentioned to me that spiritual side of it is often what really anchors everything. And I'm curious how it's showed up as you've built this company and as you've witnessed people literally transform from when you first meet them.
Yeah. As far as, my core values go, first one is I walk with God, and remembering that I am a drop in the ocean of this, uh, something that's so much bigger than me, and leaning in on my faith has been so key. The second core value I say is expansive growth, and that, I hold the vision, not the circumstance. And I believe part of my purpose, my why, is to help people unlock their vision, but also help them hold it as they're calibrating to a new, bigger, more expansive life. And the third one is, I used to call it compassionate honesty, and I've shifted it to heartfelt candor. And I communicate with compassion and respect for others and myself. And I actually believe in the vision process. Actually, the very first step for any client that comes through my door is really helping them lean into greater levels of self awareness, because clarity oftentimes comes when we're really honest with ourselves. And so that that stems from like the little details of being honest with ourselves, being honest with others, and making sure that we're a clear channel for the truth to come through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of my other core values is now is the new later. So take aligned action to produce results. Because one of my favorite quotes by Wallace Waddles is, by thought, the thing that you want comes to you, but by action, you receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that it's our responsibility to be in partnership with God, where we got to take massive action. We got to do our part of um, building
Yeah.
what we were set out here to do. And oftentimes for people, if they're in a lull or they're feeling stuck or confused or stagnant, it's because they're in this idle place where they're not taking any action.
Yeah.
And when we're not taking action, it's almost like Google Maps, and you're not, when you're in your car or you're walking and you're standing still and it's trying to like calibrate you to like, hey, but what direction are you? But as soon as you start walking, even if it's the wrong way, then it can be like, oh, actually, you're going the wrong way, turn around. So, um, now is the new later, and taking that action. And then my final core value is gratitude and generosity, because I believe that those are two of the greatest gifts that we've been given, to not only make sure that we're bringing our vision to life, but doing so in a really satisfying, fulfilling way.
I love that. I love those values. Thanks for sharing that and being authentically you. And I think one of the pieces of really setting your vision and your why is honestly not always making it just about ourselves. So I'm curious, with the people who have come in and you've seen them in one way, do you have any stories that you can share, miracles that have happened, transformations that were just so jaw-dropping? Like, I'm sure you follow up and see what actually happens, or they call you in
Oh,
amazement.
yes.
I'd love to hear some of those.
My success marker is like literally based on how many calls, texts, emails I get from my clients that are like, you're never going to believe what just happened. It's like, those are my favorite.
Yeah,
Um, so one of them is actually uh, a client of mine. And this was such a cool story, where we host these retreats called Vivid Vision Retreats. And I'm gonna change out the person's name just for confidentiality,
of
but
course.
everything else remains the same. So we'll call him Robert. But he came to the retreat, and he built a business in the e-commerce space. Was married, had wife, had a, I think, 18-month-year-old baby, girl at home at the time, and he had built his business to a couple $1 million in top line revenue, but he was so um, exhausted, miserable. And I remember at the retreat him sharing with the rest of the participants in a share that he literally like resisted going to the office in the morning because he didn't like the team he had set up. He felt like everything was all over the place. He was considering selling his business. He had made some hiring decisions that were really costing him, and he didn't know how to have the hard conversations on letting go of certain team members. And he specifically said he was in his, I think, early 30s, but felt like his best days were behind him.
Mm.
And I know that is like that's one of the most uncomfortable places to be, when you literally look at your future and it looks less compelling, less exciting, less life-giving than your past.
Mm.
And I think that's where a lot of people can fall into anxiety and to depression. And he was honestly feeling really depressed. And so he came to the retreat because he's like, I just got to figure out what's next for me. Like, how am I going to sell the business? Do I just, walk away from it? Him and his wife were in a lot of conflict. She felt like he wasn't showing up as the father that he could really be. And through the 3-day retreat, we do a lot of deep processes to help people get to the core of what it is that they really want. And you know this, Jamie Lee, of one of the questions we ask is not just what do you want, but what would you love?
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that, if we believe in even just a fraction of you believes that we come from love and we go back to love, then that would mean that a part of us or all of us is love. And so when we answer whatever, or when we answer the question, what would I love? That's actually spirit, God seeking to express itself through us with whatever it is that we answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so with Robert, he realized that there was a lot of ways that he was just kind of allowing his life, allowing his business to just happen versus being intentional and deliberate. And there was a part of him that didn't believe that he deserved to have more, to have better. And he designed the 3-year vision of exactly what he wanted his business, his life to look like. But one of the big shifts for him was also not just building the business to be bigger, but how he wanted to show up as a father, how he wanted to show up in his health. And he really needed to reprioritize certain things. And so, I mean, from that retreat, he walked away like 100 pounds lighter and really connected and excited about his future. But that was just the beginning. We ended up working together further on the back end of that. And in the first 9 months of working together, he had grown his business over 40%, from $5 million to $7 million, went from like not being profitable at all to 25% profit margins, which is great. But the big one was that his wife and him came to another retreat together, and she pulled me aside and she was like, thank you. Like, seeing the way that he does not miss bath time for our little girl. He shows up every night, so present, and I could tell he's taking care of himself. He's happier. The way that he shows up as a husband. And fast forward, last year, so 2 years after the vision, he'd grown the business at $10 million in
Wow.
revenue, doubled it in those 2 years, built a leadership team that is like rock star team. I've been supporting him through that. And he has another little boy on the way.
Wow.
And in July, and we've designed his life where he gets to take a mini sabbatical for the second half of the year, because we intentionally set this all up aligned to his vision. And I think a lot of people forget that, right? Again, it's like you can design your life exactly how you want. And we forget that. We forget that we have that self-agency. And so that's been, a recent favorite story of mine, and not an uncommon story that I see uh, with the leaders we get to work with.
I love it. That's so amazing. Like you've impacted his family. He's able to multiply his business, his home
His health,
life.
he's like in that, he's
It's
super fit.
just
He got, yeah, best
so
shape.
good.
Hmm.
Those are such good feel good stories. Like it's amazing. And I'm sure you see a lot of that. I'm sure that's one micro example from all of the amazing stories that you have. And I'm so excited because you're coming to Toronto to do a full day vision with, I think our format will fit 170 guests. So I'm really excited to see how many stories and lives you impact in that venue. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Even at the level of success that you have, is there anything that you still question, ponder, have set out as a goal that you just can't quite put your finger on that you'd like to share or discuss?
Totally. Yeah. So, you know, one of the challenges that that I'm always like, or right now I'm leaning into the edge around it, and I know a lot of my clients and leaders that we work with also run into this, and so this season is just giving me even greater empathy. Is, setting out the big vision and seeing it so clearly, and it's like I could taste it, I could touch it, I feel it, I know exactly what it looks like, and and then sometimes what comes along with that is impatience and difficulty in fully trusting the process. So it's like, being able to hold the vision, but like naturally, then there's that strategic part that comes up and is like, yeah, but how? How are we going to make this happen? And so, yeah, right now there's some edges that I've been feeling in certain areas of the business where I claimed a new big vision last year, building out our last vivid vision, and I can feel myself bumping up against the but how, but how, but how, and then the impatience of like, yeah, but it needs to happen like yesterday.
Yeah.
And but I realized that that's like clenching and gripping on to not allowing God to come in and reorganize things so that I because oftentimes the way in which things come to fruition, it's like not the way that I would expect.
Yes.
But
100%.
my human brain forgets that sometimes. I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm honestly like constantly working on, but it's felt most real lately. Um, yeah.
I love that. And I appreciate that because I think a lot of times, especially when we're so driven, right? Like there's certain personalities that are just driven, like it needs to happen now. And I appreciate that about you. And I think that through my journey in becoming a believer, which really was Mother's Day 2018, I'll never forget it. The thing even now I'm learning is like, okay, there's a purpose, there's a plan. Not only do I have to take action and have faith, I also need to pray along the journey and be aware that I might not see one step in front of me. It's like the faith journey, you're kind of blind. You're just on the path, you know what you feel in your heart you are to do, and you're executing at such a velocity. And it's like, oh my gosh, I want to sprint the marathon. So I feel what you're
Yeah.
saying. And I'd love to just pray through your journey. Like as you come to me, I'm going to pray that you get clear and that the path is just as quick as it's meant to be. And
Mm,
I think you'll see pretty awesome miracles happen as you walk through it, bigger than you even set your own vision to.
totally. Yeah. And,
So,
it's interesting. I was even a couple weeks ago, I was doing a longer breath work experience at my house, and one of the messages that came through, I noticed that like impatient part of me being like trying to get ahead of things, trying to get ahead of time. And then I just heard this message come through that was like, Oak trees take time. Going back to the oak tree example, it's like what you're building is big and sometimes it takes time. And you got
Yeah.
to be patient and recognizing like that tree. Yeah, a little tree, yeah, it could spurt up really quick, but like the bigger ones, the bigger visions, it requires that patience.
Yes. So
Ugh.
you're probably in a season of learning a bit more patience, it sounds like, which is can all these trials and tests along the way, they can really get to us. So
Yeah,
I admire you opening up about that one for sure.
thank you. Yeah.
Um, you were talking about generosity and impact. Is there some stuff that you do that you'd like to shed some light on and kind of encourage others to give or be more impactful and do good in what it is that we're doing? Is there some stuff that, yeah, you can shed some light on?
Yeah, so, yeah, uh, one of the greatest blessings in my life has been having phenomenal mentors. I've had amazing, amazing mentors, and two of them that really come to mind, or actually, I'll say three that really come to mind. One is my father, and he has been an example for me in a lot of ways for me to dream big and set my mind to anything that I could do. Another one has been a mentor of mine. His name's Joe Polish. He runs the Genius Network. And then the third one is a woman named Mary Morrissey. She's a really well-known transformational leader, and she actually married my husband, Alex, and I. And when I looked at the consistency amongst, with mentors, I think it's so much more about who they show up as in the world versus like what they do. Although what they do, it's helpful to study. And I saw across the board with the most successful, satisfied, fulfilled people, I noticed that they all had the quality of generosity uh, as just who they were. It was like who they were at their core. And so I've really studied that. And even in my own life, recognizing that, there's these universal laws at play. And there's the law of expansion and contraction. And if we look at anything, I mean, everything from like our breath to nature, uh, anything that's alive, there's an expansion and then there's a contraction. And when it comes to creating abundance in our lives, the precursor to that is generosity. Generosity is like the inhale, or
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, the exhale that then signals in that inhale that coming to us. And so, one of the things that is just a spiritual principle that I've practiced is tithing, of course, not only with money but with time. And so, um, there's the quote: "If you help enough people get to where I think it's Zig Ziglar, help enough people get to where they want to go, and naturally, you're going to get to where you want to go." And that was a lesson that my mentor Joe Polish taught me on early on. And so I think because I've been able to create so much is because of remembering that and leading in with, okay, how can I give? How can I serve first? Trusting that the counterpose to that is abundance.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Some of the mentors I have, it's just incredible the humility and the grace and the amount they give. I mean, I oversee a board for an orphanage in Kitale, Kenya, and there's one person who annually just deposits over $1 million in one day into the account to help orphans. It's like, okay, what a giver. No wonder he's blessed. It's beautiful that there's people like that in the world. And I think spreading the good news that God is love and that he loves us and he wants us to live in abundance and be fruitful and multiply. And as a result, we will be blessed. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing to witness.
Can I share just a quick story on that of
Yeah.
like application? So this would have been around the time, yeah, where I had graduated college. And I went to church and it went one Sunday and they were talking all about tithing. And the pastor did the most amazing, like I call it a sales pitch at the time, where he was like, "Hey, uh, we encourage you to tithe, 10%. And if in 90 days, God hasn't created, like a visible transformation in your life, we'll give you whatever money back that you tithed." I'm like, talk about a guarantee, right? And so I am like just getting started with my business. And I'm gonna admit I was like in a lot of scarcity at that time because like every month I'm just trying to figure things out. I just like need enough to get to the next month and live and take care of my expenses. Like by no means did I have like a nice cushion to lean on or anything like that during this time. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm going to do this experiment of tithing, but I'm gonna tithe on the delta that I want to be making.
Mm.
So I set out, okay, I want to be making 10 grand a month. And so I started tithing $1,000 a month, which was like over a third of what I was making in general.
Hmm.
And it felt so courageous and so scary. And I was like, there was like this trust fall of like, I'm going to meet, I'm going to meet and do my part.
Hmm.
And over those 3 months, I mean, that was when I met my first mentor, Joe Polish. That was when I met Cameron, who told me about vivid vision. It was like all of these big chess pieces in my life started to move. And within 6 months, my business was making over $50,000 from like less than 3,000. And I was like, whoa.
I
But I
love it.
think the nuance that I've learned though too, it's like it's the spirit behind it, the energy behind it. You can't, and I've really had to hone this in over time of like, if I'm giving to try get, I'm missing the point. That's not it.
Hmm.
It's like you gotta give when you feel it, and like it's like a trust and a hey, this actually isn't mine.
Hmm.
This came from something much bigger than me, and I'm a conduit. And so I'm going to have discipline and always remembering in which where it came from.
I love that. And I love the story attached to it because it's so cool to witness. There is something biblical in, and I can't quote the scripture because I'm only a believer since 2018. You got to be really well versed in this, but there is one element in there that talks about test and give and see what comes back. And I can't remember the scripture right now, but it's a neat one. And it's exactly that. Like, test me, give, do good, and see what comes back at you. It's like a
Mhm.
boomerang. And for those who don't know, who are listening in, and what the heck is tithing? It is a piece of scripture that God encourages us to give to give to others in need, and have faith that when you do that, he will bless you. And it's
Mhm.
always in different ways. So thank you for sharing that story. I loved it. So um, if we were sitting here 1 year from now, which I know we're going to be, like, we're going to have to do another year from now and check in at where you're at and how your patience is and all of these things on this journey. um, what are we celebrating for you personally and professionally?
Mm. Well, one of the first things, I've just been connecting deeper and deeper into uh, the gift it is to like really, really serve our clients, um, and the leaders in the world. And you can even ask my team. Like I'm just I'm so obsessed with like the how we can help our clients. And a big part of this, so we're having this conversation reflecting back, is we've been able to help even more leaders to really connect to their vision, communicate it, and help them create it from this new energy too, like not like the hustle, the grind, but really partnering with the infinite side of their nature and remembering that they are so incredibly powerful, and being able to tap into their um, their intuition, their higher mental faculties of imagination and creativity and will, and really bring forth these important visions, because I believe we're at such a threshold right now in the world. We're almost like at this tipping point, and more people are waking up to the fact that there's something so big happening right now, I feel like, in how we are creating our lives. So we've helped over the last 12 months, I would say at least 3,000 leaders in a really profound way, from service and just pure devotion. And personally, my husband Alex and I purchased our next dream home.
Amazing.
I love the process of finding a home. It's like the ultimate vision made reality.
Yeah.
And I have a very good track record with it. And in fact, I was just on the phone with my realtor today, and I have a very specific vision actually on my last page of my vivid vision of exactly what our home looks like, square footage, acreage, like all of it. And she was like, "Hey, there's really nothing on the market like that." And I was like, "Believe in my belief." Like, I believe there is, and it only takes one, and it gets to be easy. And I'm sure so many of your listeners that are agents would be like, "Oh, she's probably a nightmare to deal with." But part of it is it's like coaching, really like coaching. When I have a unwavering vision, it's like holding others that to to believe with me.
Hmm.
And I believe that's our job as leaders. So a year from now, we're celebrating that we've like moved in and designed it in just the most beautiful, life-giving way. It's like a sanctuary. Uh,
Congrats. That is amazing. And I love that you found your vision like in that home. That's so cool.
yeah.
Um, so I want to ask one other question just about faith and the divine inspiration. If you're open to sharing, like, how does that play a role in your personal vision process for you? Or how have you seen that show up in a huge way for others where it's like, what does Carrie Underwood say? Jesus, take the wheel. Like, you just feel this calling, or you feel your faith guiding you in a certain way. How do you allow that to take over in a visioning process?
Great question. So I'll tell like a little story of it was 2019, and I'd gone to a 3-day workshop similar to the retreats that we lead now with a mentor of mine, and spent 3 days building out what I wanted my health, my relationships, my business, lifestyle, all of that to look and feel like as if 3 years into the future, as if it had already happened. And I was like totally in love with it. It felt so expansive to me. And that following week, I went back to work, and I was at my home office. And I'm going to fast forward the story a little bit. I go much more into detail in certain times, but over the course of the week after I'd set this big vision, I had two of my key team members give their notice, their 2-week notice. I had our biggest client, that was a 6-figure client, say that they were taking, all of their marketing and everything in house. I had gotten a health diagnosis, and I remember calling my mentor on the phone, and she's deeply, deeply spiritual person. And I was freaking out. And I was like, I don't know what's happening right now, but it's not good. This is not good. And she's in her 70s, and she's this wise woman and just very calm, loving. She's like, "Oh, Jennifer, this is exactly what's supposed to be happening." And I'm like, "I don't think you heard me." Like, and I went into the story again of all the circumstances that were happening. And she was like, "This is good news." And I was like, "Mary, this is not good news. I like, are we having the same conversation right now?" And she said, "It's really important that you understand this. And anytime that you set a bigger vision for your life, anything that isn't a vibrational match to that vision is going to come up to be released and transformed. She's like, this is just simply, this is not only the law of physics, but this is spiritual law as well. And so she's like, all of these things, you got to actually look at it as good news. And you have a choice right now in this moment. You can either see these circumstances and get lost in them and allow these circumstances to have you, and you're just going to get caught up in a loop and you're going to stay stuck. Or you can hold the vision, not the circumstance. And meaning hold the vision, that the energy, the belief in your vision more than what is right in front of you. And actually see that what's right in front of you, this isn't a stop sign, these are qualifiers. And this is actually all the raw material required in order for you to bring your vision to life.
I love it.
And I'm going to tell you what, like that conversation completely transformed my life, completely transformed the way that I'm in relationship to my vision. Because now anything that comes up into my life, I see it as like my mentor Mary says, the content of our life is the curriculum to our evolution. So whatever is in front of me, I see it as like, okay, what this is the raw materials that I need to learn to grow, to become the version of me that brings the vision to life. And so that piece of advice, and I think how I relate to my vision in a spiritual sense is like seeing it all as working out for the highest good, truly.
Oh, I love that so much. And it really does create our story, right? If you don't go through those setbacks or that journey, you don't have the same story or testimony or outcome because you learn in those moments and during that walk.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, is there anything left unsaid that we have not covered that you feel you're being called to say as we sort of close here?
Mm. I think for those of you that are listening, it can be easy to, listen to this and be like, okay, yeah, like creating a vision, got it. But, and the but is usually where a lot of our limiting beliefs flood in. And in helping thousands of people, I see this all day, every day, and recognizing that there's certain beliefs that are, it's not making them wrong or bad, just recognizing, oh, these are like kinks in my hose. So if you have thoughts of, well, I don't know what my vision is, I don't know where to start. Uh, who am I to dream bigger? What if I don't dream big enough? What is so and so going to think about me? What is my mother going to think about me, or my father going to think about me if I go after my dreams? Or I have so many dreams. Where do I start? Or I don't really want to claim what it is that I want because of the responsibility connected to having to bring it to life. Or I don't really want to claim a bigger life because I'm already so exhausted with the one that I have. And if it's just more of the same, I don't really want it. All of those are normal, natural thoughts. And just don't let them stand in the way of you creating your vision. Because again, your vision's already inside of you. It's there. Those are simply, again, the kinks in the hose that we need to remove in order to make sure that there's a clear channel. Just like you would go to, um, what is it? The water, like a well.
Mm-hmm.
When you first go to a well and you start pumping to get the clear water out, you're going to get the gunk, you're going to get the crap, you're going to get the limiting beliefs in your sense. And the important thing is to, have the specific practices in order to get that clear channel of the clear water, the crisp water. And that's so much of, the work that I do. And just start even with the question, it's December 31st, 2020, 3 years out. So in this case, 2028, but it all worked out even better than I could have imagined. What would I love? in my health, my relationships, my business, my lifestyle, giving. What would I love? Start there. Give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes just to start. You can go much deeper, but start there.
Thank you. I love it. You gave everyone something to work with. And I'm excited because you're going to be doing a call with some of our top performers coming up. I think you're in June. And so they're going to get a little nugget of, conceptualizing this and then starting it. And then again, the full day workshop in July, which will be even more clarity for people and excitement around everything they imagine and feel called to become. And I want to make sure that you share where people can find you, your Instagram handle, your website, if you just want to share that now quickly. And then I have one last question.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more, the website is visiondrivenglobal.com. visiondrivenglobal.com. And then on there, you can actually download our free Vivid Vision Mind Map that gives even more question prompts on how to answer and start to craft your 3-year vision. And then there's also some free morning and evening breathwork tracks that you can do to help yourself get in a vision state. And then Instagram handle is at Jen Hudye, JENNHUDYE.
Amazing. Thank you. So just an opportunity, if there's anything that I could do that you can think of that could help you propel your journey, work on patience, whatever is in your mind and in your heart, I would love to know if there's someone that I could connect you with or anything that I could do to help open any door for you that supports you in your mission and your vision for your life.
You are so sweet. I feel like we're already doing it together. We're already collaborating and sharing and spreading this message of vision and spiritual vision to your amazing team. And I feel so grateful for that. I'm so excited just to see how we can continue to collaborate in this way, because I feel like we have so much alignment.
Yeah, I think so too. So I'm so blessed to have had you here today. Thank you for all of your wisdom and your love and your clarity. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Jamie Lee.
Thank you for watching this episode of Real Stories with me, Jamie Lee Bongard. I hope you were inspired enough to share this with your colleagues, friends, and loved ones. If you'd like to see more from us, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms linked below. Wishing you all the love and prosperity in the world. And remember, love is the way. See you in the next episode of Real Stories.